People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.
October Red is sponsored by SA Security. Maximum security, minimum fuss.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Abs of October Red, and a warm welcome. We thought we'd do something a little bit different today. This fight, a British dust-up, a British heavyweight dust-up between the rising star Moses Ituama and the rough and rugged and ready Dillian White. Interesting press conference. I think the most heat there was between Herovic and David Adel. But yeah, interesting matchups. I know a lot of people are going on about the card. I've quite happily paid my pay-per-view because, as you know, I'll be here with you on Saturday night. I took some notes and I wanted to go through some key points with what's happening with this fight. Obviously, the whole card itself, it is an interesting fight. Like I said, another event in Saudi. The only thing that I was a little bit confused with is it's now esports, which please feel free. I haven't done the research on that to see what esports is actually about. So yet again, it's another event that's happening in Saudi under Riyadh, but with a different name. But hey ho, who cares? We're getting the events. Good evening to Chris Welsh. Well, I don't know where Chris is, so it could be good morning. I hope I've been doing okay. It's going to be a busy week for all of us here. So yeah, doing all right. Hope you are too. Untraceable, can't lie. I think Adelaide is useless. Interesting. We'll come on to that. Northbank Bren, shout out to you. Ray Ford and Nova. I think I'm going to do probably the last 3 fights on fight night. I'm not going to do the whole card. Some of it I'll watch and then I'll jump on the live later with you guys when the numbers are more than likely to go up because of obviously the stakes. I did say when they did, I think it was the Grand Arrivals, why was Herovic and Adelaide out so early? They're both heavyweight fights. Somebody in the chat says, well, it's probably prelims. They're trying to get everybody to watch. I was like, no, these cards are pay-per-view from start to finish. They don't necessarily have the prelims. So they seem to have bumped that up the card. I think it's second to third from last. Interesting fight. Like I said, Ray Ford looked a little bit bored at the top table. I wouldn't mind knowing what your thoughts, but he was sort of nonchalant, not really impressed. I don't know if that's part of the mind games to say, yeah, I'm not really bothered about this fight. I don't know how that fight's going to end up because I haven't done enough study on Nova. I know that he's now signed by Nova Sport, which is obviously Team Chris Eubank, Napa, all of those guys. So let's see what he's got. I can't really comment on that because I'd have to go and watch the footage. What I would like to see, and I'm a fine one to talk, is him just touch up the blonde on the beard or just shave it off because it's just there. But we'll see how he is on the night. He's got his mascot with him. He's keen. Quite a few people said that's potentially going to could be fight of the night. So please chime in on why you guys believe why. Right. So Chris is saying, I think esports is a video game tournament. Who knows? Alexander Wilson, October. Dillian isn't 6'4" standing next to him. I thought he was 6'3" or 6'3" and a bit. I've stood next to him, but as you know, I'm extremely short, so anybody's going to look really tall to me. Good evening to Base the Kid. Yeah, untraceable. Yeah, spot on. Dillian's about 6'3". Ray Ford is normally chilled like that, so okay, that's his attitude, but obviously he can't be like that in the ring, which we know he isn't. Chris is saying, I don't think this card is pay-per-view worthy, in my opinion, but it is what it is, pay-per-view. Normally, a star on it like Eubank Jr., Fury, AJ, etc. I don't see any pay-per-view stars here, but people will still pay, and I'm one of them. Chris, I've paid. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's the test that everybody's been waiting for Moses Ituama, but we'll go on to that in a bit. Filip Hrgović and David Adel. Now, Filip Herovic isn't, in my opinion, at the peak of, his career. He's been around for a bit. Obviously, he's got that amateur pedigree. He was known as El Animal when I was first looking at him. I think it was probably about 5 years ago when he was with Wasserman. I think they'd just started up as Wasserman there. It's gone from the Sauerlands to Wasserman. And they were saying that they was having problems getting in fights because of who he is, what he is, how dangerous he is. So he always had this reputation. We've seen him, in a couple of fights, and the notable one was Zhang. And I was one of them that thought that actually Zhang won it. I know that Philip was going through a really bad time because he'd lost his father. And yeah, that can, when you lose a loved one, that can really wobble your brain, and not just then and there, but for a very long time afterwards as well. And I think since then, maybe he's just lost a little bit of that magic. However, when he went in against Daniel Dubois, we saw really accurate boxing. Now, when I'm saying boxing, is obviously Adel is known as a puncher, not a boxer. Don't get me wrong, I think he's improving under Adam Booth, but he's known as being this knockout artist, isn't he? Because that's what he does. We've seen him do it, especially in his last two fights. Controversially or not, he gets the knockouts. That's who he is. Herovic can box. I was there when he fought Joel Joyce. And Arin have he just didn't look like he was in shape. I don't know what went on there, but this time he looks like he's took it a little bit more seriously, got into better shape, and he's going to be taking this fight more seriously, which he does need to do. Daniel Dubois was eating backhands coming in from Herovic. He just couldn't miss. Is Adel going to be able to avoid that? Is he going to be able to? Because what he seems to do is Adel is very good at backing up his opponents because of his power. He'll push them back onto the ropes, and that's when he starts to unload. Yes, he's got that one punch knockout, but he also throws shots in cumulative bunches as well, which I saw him do to Jamie Takivi in their last fight. And I believe Jamie Takivi was probably buzzed before the alleged break, and then obviously the hook that put him down. So Adel is quite good at timing. He's quite good at looking for stuff, but can he do something like that with Herovic? I need you guys in the chat. I don't know. What do you think? Because they say you are as good as your last fight. We hear it all the time, because then it would be contradictory of me to say, well, Dillian's with a massive chance when his last fight was Tete. And he wasn't in the best shape for that. It wasn't his best fight. So it's a bit of a tricky one there. I'm not writing Adel off because he finds a way to win. And I do like that about him. He does find a way to win. Where is Herovic at the moment? When it comes to boxing, yes, he's a good boxer. But Takivi was outboxing, and Adel found a moment and he took it. You can argue all day whether it should have been a disqualification, an immediate rematch, whatever. He's chosen the path that he's going down, which isn't that. He's taking on a seasoned fighter because he wants to go. I believe that he wants to go back for Fabio Wardley. I think he wants to chase that to see if he can get the win back. In a way, they're similar. They find a way to win. So it'd be interesting to see if he comes through Herovic, how he'd get on this time if he catches up with Fabio Wardley. Let's have a look in the chat. There's a couple of words in here. Oh, I can see Ring Girl. Right, so Joseph, good evening. Amen to you. I was watching something with Joshua Buatsi. I'm going to try not to digress over too much, but Joshua Buatsi, as he is, like he likes to jump from the promoters. He's kind of like, yeah, well, Queensbury's looking good now, so I've gone over there. But I've asked Team Buatsi if I can, have a catch up with him. They liked the message but didn't reply. So who knows? I probably won't get to speak to him until I try and chase him down at a press conference. Toby, good evening to you. Dillian's box rec has him at 6'4". Interesting. Well, maybe he's like 6'3" and a bit, and they've just give him the extra, I don't know, half an inch. Whyte is playing himself down on purpose. Yeah, he's doing his bits. Chris is right, but Dillian is pay-per-view, and he has been pay-per-view, hasn't he? Supernova. Dillian ain't short. He's just not as tall as we think. Well, he was actually tall. I thought he was short. I thought he was 6 foot dead until I met him. I was like, oh my God, look how tall you are. So I know he's 6'3" or just over. So Pete is saying that Herovic is going to school Adelaide. This is what, is he? Is he? I don't know, Pete. Adelaide finds a way to win. Outboxing him, 100%. Herovic, yeah, 100%. But as we know in the heavyweight division, sometimes it just doesn't depend on that. Boxing doesn't always win, does it? Evening to Karma. Hope you're doing well. Andrew, good evening to you. Untraceable, yeah, Zhang won. We're together on that one. Alexander's saying, I think David Adelaide is not that good. He can't judge distance. Yeah, I did see that in the Takivi fight. There was that range that he struggled with because Takivi was able to get in to go to the body, get back out, go to the head. And we did see David struggle with the range. However, when he did pin him down and he did get Jamie on the ropes a couple of times, he is dangerous. Yeah, I saw Dillian and Ituama going at it. Why that wasn't mic'd up, or maybe they're going to save that for some BTS for us afterwards. So I'll be interested to hear what they said. It's like Dillian's been calm, yeah. Having a go at the media, but he's been calm with his opponent. Then all of a sudden, switch. Now, whether you admit it or not, you've been expecting Dillian to be like that all week. And then all of a sudden, he's not been. And it's almost like Moses has been trying to suss him out all week because he's got the team. You know what they like to do. They like to do all the analyzing. Let's do all the video footage. And I spoke to Buddy the other day, and he's quite right. And another trainer said this to me as well, Paddy Lynch. He said, plans are for when you build a house. You don't plan in boxing. You need to fight off instinct, because you can watch an opponent all day long and then they come in the ring and do something different and you haven't got the answers for it. Buddy more or less said the same thing. So he's coming from the same page, the same kind of idea. And they're, these are old school guys where when they were fighting, there wasn't that video footage. They couldn't necessarily watch the intricacies of a fighter, and they became champions. They won fights. It is what it is. Do you think, and I think we take everything, it's just my personal opinion, we take everything so serious, like everything has to be meticulous, everything has to be organized. But the thing is, boxing isn't, it's absolute chaos. Yeah, of course, it's good to see what people can do because you can have a look at their flaws and that. But is there a point when you get to just you're over analyzing it now? Because remember, say, for example, things aren't going right for Moses according to his plan. He said he's going to stick to his plan. They've got a plan. They're going to execute the plan. So that means he's been drilled over and over again in his head. This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to achieve it. However, what if the plan continuously doesn't work? When Moses is going back into the corner, what is the advice going to be then? And this is where we see where the coaches, thinking on their feet, seeing all different styles of fighting, and they can adapt. This is where the coach's brain can come in and help the fighter if the fighter's not able to adapt for themselves. And that's another thing I think when you have somebody analyzing everything for you, it's almost like, do you forget to think for yourself? Do you forget to fight on instinct? Or because you're having these things that are drilled into you, drills, that you forget how to think for yourself? And can that be dangerous in fights as well? We've seen it with fighters when they've come back to the corner and they've said, what do I do now then? And I've thought, oh my God, they're not thinking because they've been drilling certain stuff. It's not working. They don't know what to do next. So is it a hindrance? I guess there's pros and cons to all of it. Let me jump back in the chat. So Toby Ringgirl Bartlett says, I'm going to pay for the card. There's at least 4 fights I want to see. Yeah, it's 20 quid. I think, is it 20 quid? I can't remember. It's either 20 quid or 25. I paid for it already. Untraceable saying Adelaide isn't good. He just talks greasy. And he won't. All British boxers know is to walk forward. And this is, we can go on to this in a bit. We talk about the straight lines, untraceable. We talk about not using lateral lines. In and out's lovely, isn't it? But why do we not see, like, say, for example, Sonny Edwards was really good on his feet. He used to be able to move laterally. Same with Yafai as well. These can move not just forwards and backwards. They can move side to side. They can roll under and causing the opposition to have to reset all the time. You think, and this is what a coach said to me, every time you get the upper hand to your opponent, i.e. you're moving, you're controlling the fight, you're moving, every time they have to adjust, it's seconds. And those seconds is when you can land your punches, when you can win the fight, because you're constantly forcing them to reset all the time because they don't know what you're doing. I'd say the master at that is Usyk when he's fighting lighter on his feet. Obviously, we saw a different Usyk. We saw an aggressive, I'm sitting down, I'm coming in heavy-handed, planting my feet. We saw a different style, beautiful adapting to the fight that was in front of him. But untraceable, I do agree. We do see a lot of straight lines. We don't want to see straight lines. Force your opponent to get uncomfortable. If you're confident enough with moving around the ring, learn the ring. You should be able to go around that ring blindfolded. You should understand how to operate around the ring. And we don't necessarily see that all the time. Some fighters do it a lot. Don't get me wrong. But there's some, it's just straight lines. I'm like, bro, you're going to get hit. And then the defense, God, we can go on to that. But this isn't obviously a boxing lesson. This is a conversation about the card. But untraceable, yeah, I'm with you. It's a good question, P. Does Adelaide hit harder than the Dubois? Have they sparred? I can't remember off the top of my head, but that is a question. They might have done. I'm not sure if my memory serves me correctly. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think they have, but I don't know. I thought Adelaide looked awful in the TKV fight. This is from Alexander. He looked amateurish in there. When you're somebody that's a puncher and you start going up the levels and you start to meet a boxer, that can happen. But he's still dangerous. And I think, do you remember when Deontay Wilder, of course we do because it wasn't that long, remember when he was knocking everybody out? How many times was he rounds behind? He was so far behind on the rounds. He was losing the fights all the time. Then all of a sudden, pow, that's it, lights out. And it can get you to a certain level. And he had that. I think Ortiz was a bit tricky for him. And then obviously he met Fury and things were never the same after Fury. When you go up the levels and you start to meet the skill, that's when you start to find out who you are as a boxer. So it's interesting. The Adelaide Herovic fight is very interesting. It will be very telling. But there's going to be a point where the boxing skill has to stand out alongside the power, because power, as you know, can only take you so far. I'm still going for Herovic to win versus Adelaide. DG saying Adelaide gets stopped late. Well, it's not long till we find out. Is it Herovic can easily get better for me? Well, let's see if he does, Chris. Let's see if he does. He does. I mean, he's a character. He's quite funny. He's been quite humorous this week. He's very sarcastic and insultive. He was extremely insultive to Daniel Dubois, and obviously paid the price for that. We're hearing now head clashes, not necessarily a punch. I'm sure we've had this discussion before. So he's probably going to go in there with a bit of what we'd like to call vim. He's got something to prove, hasn't he? I think he's been taking the mick out of David all week, which is good. It's good for the lead up. David seemed rattled at the top table, as he does. He's very sensitive. It is what it is. It's just trash talk. It's part of the boxing. And I think Herovic is the type of person that when you're trying to be serious, he'll laugh in your face and just aggravate you. He'll just look at you and start laughing, and you're getting wound up and he's just laughing. That is Herovic. All of this mind games, that's just his personality. We'll see what happens on Saturday night. Ring Walk Boxing Podcast, good evening. Can't wait for this card. Zhang did budge Herovic, so he can never hurt, although he's got a good chin. Adel's got good power, and I see a stoppage. Hard to call. The most entertaining match style is Nick Ball, versus Sam Goodman. Interesting fight that is. And like I said, I have never put it out there that I'm this boxing pugilist. I have heard of Sam Goodman, but I just don't really know that much about him. So it's going to be literally on the fight. Let's have a look at him. Let's see what he's capable of. Nick Ball is known as the Wrecking Ball. I did name him like a mini Mike Tyson, just the way that he's so small and he jumps into his shots. I did say that a few fights ago, so I wish him all the best. But yes, people are saying that that's going to be a tough fight as well. But we'll see. We'll see. Bruce Gass, good to see you boxing, Jazz and more. Salute to you as well. Let's have a look. Toby. Herovic leaving Ronnie. Yes, he did. That's who he was with. Ronnie Shields. Of course he was. Herovic leaving Ronnie Shields for Abel Sanchez is a brilliant move. Training in Big Bear's high altitude and not Texas will cure his gas tank problems. Yeah, because that's another thing. He looked absolutely exhausted. That's why when I think they stopped that fight, fair enough, it was a nasty cut anyway. He looked absolutely burnt out. So he's obviously addressing this. He's taking it seriously. This is what I'm saying. You've got two veterans that are going in against the young bucks that are taking their fights extremely seriously. Like Toby Ringo Bartlett's quite said there about the altitude training there to help your endurance, your recovery, your gas tank. As we all know, that is extremely important. Jay Lanks, good evening. I haven't seen you for ages. Good to see you. I'm sure I've seen you on one of the chats earlier. I think it was today's press conference. Ring Walk Boxing Podcast says Dillian White has had a sink or swim moment, forced adversity, only lost to top guys, AJ, Povetkin and Fury. Definitely battle-tested. Ituama, best not overlook him. And thank you. Shout out to the Americans. I hope you guys are all okay over there. I've been keeping my ear out with these Epstein files and all this stuff that's going on. So I've been watching all of that. And the lovely Candice Owen getting sued by the French for her allegations, her obsession with the French president and his wife. But I digress. So shout out to you guys over in the US as well. Alexander saying, I think Dillian is shot to pieces. His last good performance was in 2018. It's a tough one, Alexander. It's a tough one. But so is he. And I heard something on TalkSport which alarmed me, actually. And Alex, since you've got this opinion of Dillian being shot to pieces, please answer this. Duke McKenzie was on TalkSport because I'm trying to absorb enough information. So I'm literally following the fight week in detail. It's an important fight week, especially for us Brits. And he said that he reckons Dillian's heart will go. Now, I've watched Dillian's fights, albeit since the Anthony Joshua fight. So that's the first fight I watched of his. I haven't watched his amateur. Seen a bit of his kickboxing background, whatever. But I wouldn't describe Dillian as ever being able to lose heart. So I don't know where that comment has come from, unless I've misconstrued it to mean something else. But the heart is something that I don't have failing of Dillian. Yes, he can get knocked out badly because we've seen that a few times. We're not disputing that. But I've never, ever looked at Dillian and thought, your heart's going to fail you because you've got no heart, or you're going to lose your heart in this fight. He's the type of guy that would get stretchered out. So, Alex, let me know your thoughts on that. Let's have a look. I think Ituama goes past 6 rounds for the first time in his career. This is from Chris. But I think Ituama stops him in the second half of the fight. But this is Ituama's first test, as Whyte is a name, unlike Ituama's previous opponents. And I think Dean, when he was just on the live broadcast, said that he thought, Marius Whyte is a name, but Dillian fought him how many years ago? Was that on the Rock of Gibraltar? I can't remember. He fought him years ago anyway. And I think Dillian come into that fight looking really overweight. So he's fought Whyte ages ago. So I do agree that this is a really good test. But then if you go by Alexander's point of view, it isn't, because Alexander thinks that he's finished. No, there's definitely no ring girls in Saudi. You're going to have to wait until we get the British shows back on for that, Toby. And I'm sure you'll be crying into your pillow that those lovely ring girls are not there. Do you know, when I'm at fights and actually see the ring girls, I smirk when I'm like ringside. And I'm like smirking because I'm thinking of you talking about the ring girls. But they must be it's like walking around. If any one of them catches my eyes thinking, what the hell is she smirking at? It's because of you, Toby Ring Girl Bartlett, because we know you like your little perks. Right, Raz, good evening to you. I like this interaction from X, formerly known as Twitter. So good evening to you, Raz. Dillian is doing it Saturday. Call me daft, whatever, but he's up for it. And he's a dog. Not an old dog, a dog. Moses is getting found out. Moses is getting found out. He's just coming up a live dog too early. I hear what you're saying, Raz. Don't write off Dillian. You can't. Look, it's heavyweights. You can't write somebody off, can you? You can't. I am emotionally invested in this fight. I get on really well with Dillian, but I've met Moses several times and he's an awesome guy. So polite, so respectful. Yes, he's got a sense of humor and he's super talented. So I've stepped away from this fight and probably not going to give my real opinion on it because it's pointless, really, because we're not going to know till fight night anyway. But I do believe with you, Raz, he's definitely a dog, not an old dog, a dog. He's up for it. I need to know what the trash talk was. So if you guys are peeling anything off X at the moment, let me know if you can see if there's been any transcripts of what's going on the fight. Legal Eagles, good evening to you, and thank you for your comments that have been popping up on the conversations that I've been having as well. I really do appreciate that. Skyliner, the editor. We need Star Fox now. I doubt Whyte listens to his corner. I think he will, Skyliner. I think he will. I really think he will. Legal Eagles. Dillian was waiting for the right time to get into Moses' head. I think he's been messing around all week. I've been watching the conversations that Dillian's been having. The go-to channels, and I did say this on my IG earlier, have been IFL, because obviously Dillian and Coogan, the best duo out, and I do think they should have a podcast. I've seen that in the comments. I'd watch that all day with them pair. And the reason why I got to know Dillian is because of Coogan's interviews with him. So IFL, Box Nation with Umar, and Seconds Out with Ayman Khan. Those are the 3 channels that I've been getting my content from. And then I've gone over onto obviously TalkSport to see the stuff that they're talking about as well. But Moses, I think, has been trying to analyze Dillian because they expected a certain type of Dillian, and that Dillian hasn't turned up. And I think that sort of baffled him a little bit. And I think Dillian mentioned that he went up to one of the guys that does the film study and introduced himself. And he said that guy was a little bit taken aback, like, oh, you know who I am? And Dillian says, yeah, because I know you guys study me, but I've also been studying you, something along those lines. So we know that all of those, if you want to call it the mind games, the chessboard moves, all of those have been going on all week. So I think when Dillian started to pipe up now at the last minute, well, coming up to the last minute, people are going to be like, oh, here he is. They're going to try and predict how the fight's going to go. Metalbox J, absolutely no problem. I think he likes answering the questions anyway. And to be fair, everyone keeps it respectful as they do. So no problem whatsoever. Skyliner said, no, let's not. Oh, and if by magic, Star Fox appears right under Skyliner's comment, I am convinced these are the same people. You know why? I could be wrong, but I doubt it. You know what I see on Instagram? I've got a few people that follow me on Instagram, and I know that they're the same person, but they've got different accounts. I know people do that crazy stuff. It's very strange, but people do it. Yeah, let's not talk about Skyline and Star Fox. Don't know if Adel hits as hard as Zhang. Skyline is saying, I think Adel comes across as a one-dimensional. So, interesting. Why is David very sensitive, Red? I think that's just the way he is. I think some fighters, well, not even some fighters, quite a lot of them, they're sensitive, aren't they? And sometimes people like me in media don't realize just how sensitive they are and how easy they are to get rubbed up the wrong way. But that's just who they are. Who they are, it's down to them, isn't it? See what benefits it brings, if any. Christopher Anthony, good evening. Big up, Red. I love the body interview. Go on, Dillian. Thank you very much for that. When is Nick Ball going to fight people in his actual weight category? Well, one of his teammates says that he's potentially going to be going up a weight anyway. So I don't know. I'm not going to talk about Star Fox's barber's issue. DG, nonsense. You have to nail him to the ground. Dillian has a huge heart. Thank you, DG, because that's what I was thinking. Why would you say that? Dillian can get flawed, and he can. But he's not a fighter that I'd look at and say, yeah, he's going to lose his heart. No. So that was a very, very odd comment. And like I said, I could have misconstrued it. Maybe I'll go back and listen to it again. And it wasn't quite what I thought. But I did see somebody put it in the comments. So I'm clearly not the only one that's deaf. Let's have a look. Supreme Tic Tac. Good evening to you. I don't think I've seen you before. So good evening and shout out to you. If he couldn't finish Espindola, I can't see him finishing Dillian. How many fights ago was the Espindola Supreme? Wasn't that one of his really early? Because he's had 12 fights, hasn't he? Is it 12 fights and 8 KOs? Something like that. And I hear what you're saying when you're looking at the comparisons. But are these what we call the away fighters? Are they really, really durable? Who knows? I don't know what you're saying, Star Fox. Jazzy Jabs, how you doing? I saw you about causing havoc in the comments for some of the conversations that I've been watching, some of the interviews. Right, Alexander Duke's comments are very abstract. He could mean heart, means no more love for the game. Okay, like I said, I could have misconstrued it. We have seen past their prime fighters retire in the corner before. Maybe he's talking about that. Right, so potentially a prediction, because it's not something that we've seen before, Alex. That's what I'm saying. That's the last thing. Look, fair enough. I haven't got a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. And it could happen where he just goes into his corner and he says, forget this. But it's not something that we've seen before. So the way he said it, it's like it's something that has happened or something he definitely knows is going to happen. So... no, I will continue to sit on the fence, Jazzy Jabs. Despite him being a great addition to the era, you're saying that Whyte is getting cleaned out. And that's the opinion of Jazzy Jabs. Yeah, you did that, Toby. Ring Girls got me smirking at Ring Girls. I wouldn't listen to my corner either if they had not looked at my opponent's tapes. It's the way he is. I don't see it necessarily as a bad thing, Jazzy. I did speak about that earlier on. I get the maths behind it. You have to be able to fight off instinct. And when he says he hasn't studied in detail, he's seen the fights of Moses. He would have done. you would have looked at the stuff that's on social media. I think it means he doesn't dissect it as much as everybody else potentially does with their film study. I think there's such thing as over-analysis too. You can just like almost like over-studying, over-training. Sometimes you can do too much of it, and then what's left up for instinct. When it comes to game plans, obviously Buddy spoke about what their plan is, and it's just to go in and create a dogfight. He was quite open about that. They're going to not necessarily, they will play by the rules, but they're going to try and drag him into a dogfight. As we know, Moses will, want to box, but Moses is also a front foot fighter, as is Dillian. So are they going to meet head on? I think the game plan and for Moses' team is to get him with the uppercut, because I can't see what other way they're going to want to stop him. The thing is with Ben Davison's team, they like the knockouts, they like the KOs, they like the stoppages. That's what they do. That's what they like their fighters to do. So that's the only thing I'm going to see. I think that they can do that. Now, somebody mentioned to me the other day, and this was a very good call, when Ben Davison instructed, when Anthony Joshua was fighting Daniel Dubois, I think he was saying the double jab, or he was saying feint, jab, and going with the uppercut. So obviously when you double jab, you're going to get inside, not to throw a long uppercut. I think that maybe that's one of the styles that there could be potentially getting Moses to do against Ituama. Maybe they've got a different idea, because remember, Dillian has been down before, and it's, when I say been down, it's not been like down. Uppercuts is lights out, but he's been down by other shots. So all of us are concentrating on this uppercut, this, that, and the other. And there could be other schemes of play because he's been down with other shots. Dillian is known, like I said, for his left hook. And we know that southpaws are susceptible to the left hook because the timing on that, when the jab hand goes out, the left hook can land clean. So that's a risk for Moses. Dillian's nice inside. It's risky for him, but he's also nice inside. And he will let those hands go to the body as well to try and stop Moses from moving, to slow him down so we can really work him on the inside. So that's my thoughts on potential plans from both of them. But as we know, sometimes when you think there's going to be a plan, it can all change and it can all be different. So we'll have to see. Yeah, Chris, I think they'll do a mic up video later about the trash talk. Ring Walk Boxing podcast. Read if it's possible to correspond through email. Hoping we could do a US UK collab. Yeah, just send me an email. I will be quite honest, I'm a bit of a lone wolf. I'll have to, you know what? Send me your channel link on my IG and I'll jump over there and have a look. I am a very, very lone wolf. I do work alone quite a lot. I've been on Blue Bloods lives in America, but it's just the time clashes. And then I usually do bits with my crew, which is Danny from Fight Fan TV, Basic Kid, and Maestro from the US. But please, yeah, send us something over, and yeah, we can possibly do something. But I make no promises. That's why I'm hated more than I'm liked, because I'm one of these that will say no. Star Fox says you do not touch Insta. I don't know. I don't think it's you. I'm just saying there's a couple of people on there. We have to admit that Nick Ball is a very dirty boxer. What do you do? What do you do when you want to win a fight? Do you win it by any means necessary? Listen, just win. Right, heart and will mean absolutely nothing when your lights have been turned out. I don't doubt Whyte's heart one bit either. Yeah, it does mean nothing if you are on the floor, but to say that he's going to lose heart is mind-blowing to me. But like I said, Saturday hasn't got here. Maybe he knows something that I don't know. And Skyline has confirmed that Duke is yet to get a prediction wrong since he started on TalkSport. But we'll see. Whyte is going to test his chin and punish him. Good evening to Iffy Sid. Good to see you. Right, Andrew, this was what I thought, because when I looked on BoxRec, It was initially down for a 12-round fight because what is it? There's a few, is it interims that are on the line? Hold on a second. Let me have a look. Let's have a look. Hold on. I know it's gone down to a 10 round. It was 12 when I was looking on BoxRec. Right. The titles on the line: WBO Intercontinental, WBA International, and is it vacant British Commonwealth Heavyweight Championship? And it's 10 rounds. Obviously, we know that now. But I know that I looked on BoxRec and I saw 12 to start with. So it's obviously changed for whatever reason. Don't know. If you're saying there's no film study needed when all you fought is those kind of opponent away fighters, I like to call them. No, don't do any searches on Google with saying ring girls. That could bring up all sorts of problems. October Red, ask your mate Matty Harris about how his sparring went with Moses Ituama. Not that I think that Whyte will do well, but Ituama is far from invincible. Now we don't do stuff like that. But Matty Harris was actually sparring David Adel for this Herovic fight. I think he was down there for maybe a week or two. So he's had some sparring in with David as well. I don't agree there. And this is from Jazzy Jabs. Wouldn't the left hook be more difficult to land on the southpaw? No, especially when the way Dillian does it, short and close. I think that's a dangerous shot for him. How the righty's feet are positioned. Have a look, Jazzy. Have a look. If you see asking Alex questions. I don't even know if that's a real Alex. We've got like loads of Alexes. There's 2 Alex Belottis that are on my account, and I don't know which one's the real one. One was there from the beginning, and I like that one because he started off trolling, and then after a while he was cool. I don't know if that's you though. Who knows? Right, if you're a superstitious person, you may favor Whyte for 2 reasons. Baby snatcher. Yeah, somebody mentioned that the other day. Ituama could be the baby. Ooh, we're getting all mystical now, are we, Jazzy Jabs? And it's Ituama's 13th fight. Damn. Jazzy. Damn. You know what? The baby snatcher one, I thought of that, but I didn't think about number 13. But I like that number, and it's actually lucky. I've got that number tattooed, so that's one of my favorite numbers. I don't see it as unlucky at all. DG saying, if Ituama is getting hurt, I can see Ben throwing in the towel. Adam Booth style. Hay versus Thompson vibes. Interesting. To protect the fighter. Live to fight another day. Yeah. Let's have a look. Ian O'Connor, Nova is a good fighter. However, Ford is class. Good evening to you, Ian. Good to see you. Toby Ringgirl has said Dillian has been using the cross-arm defense at times under Buddy McGirt, like Big George Foreman did. Will he use that to stop the uppercut? We've seen it in his training. I think he will. When you look at him, even on the bag, he's got that cross-arm. He's there ready to like parry that shot that's going to come under to get the chin. It's there. It's ready. Yes, so I do think he will use it. If he's saying when Davison tells Ituama to rock, don't. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. What I'd like to see, and I know that some coaches, and I'm going to go in a bit because I said I was only supposed to do half an hour. What I'd like to see with some coaches, and remember, I'm not in every corner. I understand there's cold talk, people talking cold, and say, yeah, do whatever maneuver, whatever code they've got for it. But I'm obsessed to listening to corners when the fighter's not doing so well, and I want to hear the advice that they give them, because then that fills me with a bit of confidence that, yes, the coach is actually that third eye. He can see what's going on, and he's giving his fighter the right advice. We'll see. I don't want to hear about rolling dices, though, because that's another thing of saying empty the tank. I think Adel is going to stop Herovic, and credit will be to his new coach. See, I think that's a possibility as well, if I'm going to be honest. And people can laugh. Adel finds a way to win. He finds a way to win. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I'm saying it's a strong possibility. So iffy, yeah. Nathan says, are you the female Drewski? Who's Drewski? Drewski. Is he? But anyway, thanks for the subscription. But I'm not the female Drewski. I'm gonna have to Google him. I think I know who you mean. He's quite funny. He's a comedian, right? But good evening to you, Nathan. Oh, thank you so much, Alexander. I'll put that in my lovely Cafe Nero fund to get myself a nice cheeky coffee when I'm out on the road. Duke was talking about how Whyte sounds and looks tired and the love of the game might not be there anymore. Duke knows his boxing. Do you think, Alex, and I keep on doing this, I keep on pushing back every time Alex says something, do you think that he's just fed up of talking at these press conferences? Remember, it's a long ass week. Dillian hasn't done this Riyadh season before, has he? He hasn't done this grand arrivals all the way through to fight week. I've seen Dillian sitting in interviews, looking at the interview like, hurry up. There was even a segment on DAZN today when they were saying giving yes or no answers. And Dillian was like, he just looked like he didn't want to be there. So can that come across as somebody that's just tired in the... No, I think he's hungrier than ever, which is both a blessing and a curse. Ian is saying, and thank you so much for the $5 as well, Alexander. I think Whyte has a good chance. Deep waters. If you said saying the same, yep. Alex is saying the same to if you said, yep, it was a year or so ago, but he was cleaned out. You lot. I can neither confirm or deny such stuff. And you know what's naughty? You shouldn't talk about sparring stuff anyway. It's like, because I never talk about like sparring. I might say somebody's been to spar, but I never say how the sparring goes. I like going into gyms. And if they find out that I'm out there gossiping about sparring, I'll never get to go back in the gym again. So it ruins it. So I don't know where that's come from. But the rat that opens his mouth or her mouth needs to like zip it, you know? Right. Jazzy Jabs is saying, I will say though, Moses does seem very sensitive when addressing his chin. Does he? He actually seems a little naive almost, like he doesn't see how important it is for a heavyweight to take a good shot. Interesting point. Jazzy, you're coming out with all of like these cryptic clues tonight. Make sure you come back tomorrow. I'm liking this analytical stuff. I like the fact that we can sit here. We're not fighters, you know, and we have these opinions and we can talk about it openly as fans of the sport. I love that. And I appreciate every single one of you that's here in these comments. It makes interesting conversation. If you're saying Alex makes sense, Alex makes sense recently. He's been more vocal and said not all sparring goes his way. I have noticed that Moses has been more talkative than usual, even when he was on was it after the public workout when he was talking to the Adel and the guys in that kind of square pit they have. And even he says, oh, I'm rambling. And I thought, you're talking a little bit more than you usually do. And is that nerves? Is it obviously the whole occasion? It's going to be overwhelming. He's 20 years old. He's the main event. There's all of that to take into consideration as well. He's literally been exalted to superstar level at the age of 20. Unheard of almost. So I think there's a lot of pressure on him as well. That could be making him a little bit nervous. I don't think that's going to affect his skills in the ring on Saturday night. Let's have a look. I'm not too sure. Ian's saying, I'm not too sure Davison is the best at giving off-the-cuff advice. I'll leave that one there. If you see this saying Herovic is a moving punching bag and his punch resistance would have deteriorated. But then is this the same argument that we can have with punch resistance when it comes to Whyte? That's what I'm saying. Are we going to apply the same rules to Whyte that we're applying to Herovic? Because it seems like we've got a split decision like, oh yeah, Whyte can possibly win. You can old man him, all the rest of it. But Herovic has deteriorated, or yeah, Herovic is going to do it and White's going to get smoked. It's where is it? I like I said, David Adelaide finds a way to win. He's a dangerous fighter. Andrew is saying if Dillian has lost a lot of weight fast, he may be weak. I don't think he's been doing it for weeks, and I'll tell you why he's been doing it for a long time, because he was messaging me to make sure I got off my couch and started running as well. So he was motivating me to run, and this was way before the camp started. So I know that he's been on this fitness, getting himself up to a good standard for a while. So Nathan, I was going for the under 4.5 rounds for Whyte versus Ituama fight. Ituama by KO. So if you're saying how can he look tired, Duke waffles sometimes. Nathan is saying lack of footwork is going to cost Dillian White, and that's why he likes to fight on the inside. Dillian has always had these Bambi legs. He's always had that. I've always took the mick out of his legs and stuff. But do you remember with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank, and neither of them wanted to lose because their names, because everything that they put on the line? Listen, I know there's an age difference between Conor and Chris as well, but it could be one of those fights because there's so much ego, pride. Dillian's not going to want to get slapped up by a 20-year-old, is he? I'm sure he's got a child that's older than Moses, so it's like one of your sons' brethren's beating you up, and I can't imagine him wanting to sit there and take that. So there's going to be a lot of that in there as well, but it has to be controlled. Like Buddy said, it's got to be controlled aggression. You can't go in there and then just start acting reckless, because when you're reckless, that's when you get caught. Sparring is a confidence builder and destroyer, but you should always spar. And I'm a massive fan of sparring up. I don't believe in sparring down and necessarily sparring on the same level as you. I've watched spars and I've thought, what did that fighter learn from that? Are they getting comfortable and accustomed to this sparring partner? Are they being pushed? You need to be pushed in some of your sparrings. I'm not saying you to go out there and beat 7 shades of crap out of each other and end up with more injuries than you would in a fight. But I do believe that you need to spar up, because you need to get better. Because in life, if you surround yourself with people that are doing better than you, it's going to motivate you, or you're going to realize maybe this is not for me. I apply the same thing when it comes to boxing. So is he sparring somebody that is fast, youthful, like Moses? Obviously, southpaw, you have to invest. If you're fighting a southpaw, my God, you got to invest in southpaw boxers, not going a cheap route and getting someone that's a potential switcher or an orthodox that can go southpaw. Naughty. Don't cut corners. Spend your money. It's your future. If he's saying that's because he's fought only people that are subpar to him. Yeah, it's good to see you as well, Jazzy. Always good to see you. I'm going to go through the chat and then I'm going to close off, because like I said, I was only supposed to do half an hour, because I'm back here tomorrow after the weigh-in. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to see them, fluffing their fighting feathers for the last time before, obviously, fight night. And with the fight night, I'm going to do the last 3 fights. I'm going to try and go from the Herovic Adel fight upwards. That's when the live will start. It won't be all the way through the card. I do like to just get the key fights in. If they mix up the order, then fair enough, I'll be with you for longer. Otherwise, we're going to do it from whatever it is. It's going to be Herovic Adelaide upwards. Right, let's have a look. I think it's nerves for sure. So much pressure on him at 20. Yeah, I totally agree, Iffy. Jazzy's saying, but he was saying things like nobody talks about Tank Davis's chin as if it's the same thing at lower weights. Okay. If he loses, Queensbury have the rebuilding fighter template on lock, and they absolutely do. If they do think that you're worth it, they will give you a chance. And you have to look at the strategic positioning that Moses is in from having those 12 fights and those, I think it's 8 KOs out of the 12 fights that he's had. Look at where he's strategically now been placed in the heavyweight rankings. So you've got to think, you debuted, 2 years ago, he was 18. Now he's headlining an event, a key event that's pay-per-view in Saudi. The immense pressure. Yes, it's beautiful. You know, his bank account's looking amazing. Him and his brother are investing their money in buying properties to make affordable housing. This is an intelligent young man, but he's still got a lot of pressure on him. If he loses, yeah, the rebuild, like if he said, is on lock. Frank Warren, he knows what he's invested in. He did the same thing with a couple of his other fighters. He's not that fussy on losses, you know, because people can, you know, fall over during their career. Can they get back up and move on? Yes, of course they can. If he's got that spirit for it, which I believe he has. So it's overwhelming, and he's just got to learn to like just switch it off. Like when Moses was trying to explain like what Dillian was doing, I was just saying, just don't worry about it. Just lock it off. Stop thinking about it. You just got to go in there and do what you need to do. Blah, blah, blah. Herovic doesn't move his head and doesn't have power in his punches. Whyte can still take a punch. Tete was getting him. The weight loss is the only concern, though. We'll see, won't we? Because like you said, sometimes weight loss is good. Sometimes it isn't. Raymond Hales, good evening to you. Good to see you. Ring Magazine posted the audio on X between Whyte and... What's it saying, Iffy? If you can, let me know. Maybe it's further down in the chat. DG, thank you so much. $9.99. I am going to be off my head on coffee. Thank you very much for that donation. Purely for nostalgia sake, I hope Dillian comes out howling like the old days. Let's go. And he's a character that will be missed. And it's nice to see that the public are sort of switching towards Dillian, or it's the dynamics. And I can see why the odds in betting. I don't understand betting. I don't bet. I don't gamble. But I can see why they fluctuate so much, because it's all to do with that public confidence. And it seems like a lot of people are switching to Dillian for nostalgia. It's not that they're wishing Moses, you know, any ill will. Nobody's got a problem with Moses. Moses is amazing, but they just want Dillian to win just for the sake of it. So it's a little bit of a community spirit that's building around this fight. So let's have a look. Oh, Jazzy, Whyte loves to fight on the inside, but he ain't getting anywhere near Moses. We'll see. We'll see. And that is a thing. He's going to try and close that distance and get to him quickly. And because that's what he wants. He wants to be on the inside. Risky for him, but also risky for Moses. Moses uses his leave as well. But you have to remember that Dillian's got a solid long jab. He's got some long ass arms. Go and look at how beautiful his jab is. Dillian's got an amazing jab. Great to see you streaming. Great work and love the channel, Mr. Will Guitar. Good evening and thank you very much to you, Dara and Dazza. Dillian by KO is one of the loyal Dillian White fans there. If Whyte drags Ituama into a dogfight, then Ituama's inexperience might end up getting him stopped. Aside from music, no heavyweight is retiring undefeated, so it's calm. And I get that and I hear that. The audio isn't clear, which is annoying. Moses is saying, say no more. It's the clearest part, but it looks like mind games from Whyte is working. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that's our little, I don't know what, our little meeting that we've had regarding this fight that's happening on the weekend. I've got to shout out my sponsors. As you can see there in the top corner, Security Alert UK, Maximum Security, Minimum Fuss. Finally, I've got a sponsor, so shout out to them for believing in me, giving me a chance in it, and investing in me, in my channel, in my work. Thank you once again to all of you guys that have turned up this evening. I will be back same time tomorrow. As soon as the weigh-in's done, we come back. And then obviously Saturday, we're going live from Herovic, Adel, or Adel, Herovic. I'm not sure which way around it is. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And tomorrow, I'll see you then. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, stay.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.
October Red is sponsored by SA Security. Maximum security, minimum fuss.